If you've ever struggled with depression, anxiety, body pain that you almost can't explain, answers you can't really seem to get on physical problems, but you're always extremely tired, then definitely this video is for you. And I guess if you consider yourself educated in any of those fields, it's especially for you, because there's always an underlining message in the videos. And then I would suggest you look at the rest of the page, and then further to that, start doing some investigation, because there is a challenge here for you. That's a side note. The rest of us that are struggling, the documentary piece that I do and the videos is kind of what keeps me going. However, I can notice I'm better overall, but I'm worse. And a big part of that, and I said, is one, I'm very aware of injustice being the issue. But it's like, oh, get over it, victim mentality. No, I had to realize I am a real victim who is so exceptional at hiding it. And that's the irony of why my page and why I don't fit into any boxes on why this is that way and you can't help me in a traditional way anymore, because the help was the danger. So my faith component is that somebody in what they call educated would start to see through this and go, okay, there's something else going on here and we need to help. But that's only the faith component, because unfortunately the people on the side of doing the damage only supported the people doing the damage. And this has been the vicious cycle. And I would say that the issues are, as today, like some days are worse than others, where it's like, okay, but the energy wave. So it's like, oh, here you can go a period of time, how high, like up, down, up, down. Well, that would also depend on what type of help and support. And when people take for granted the physical abilities for them to get those the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when you have your physical limitations, and the first base one, even your income. So it's one thing to think that you're okay or push things off or whatever, but what if you lost your ability? I really want you to think about this. Your ability to make the income that you have, to keep the base things you have, and the people around you that supported you for those things, how differently things would be. Okay, so now imagine a scenario where the people you trusted, and you were in a scenario where you did your part, you trusted, and those people didn't come through, but they took. So I say that it's not a maddeningness. I would never repeat what was done to me, but the perspective that I think a lot of people could relate to, and that's a wake up to the rest of it. So if you're in a situation yourself, or your mental health is not good, you have to take responsibility. So I take responsibility. That's the healing part, and that's exactly it. Sometimes you can't do much else, right? Like and you have to be more forgiving of yourself, which means, though you can't do what you were once doing. I'm not the character that I once was. I cannot do the things I used to be able to do. I'm hoping if I recharge, I might be able to get back to that. I need to have a life again, but physically and mentally, that's the fear, because the abilities to do the things I once did are gone, and the help I once had is gone. So that changes a lot. And the people that I put trust in and faith in betrayed me. That's the truth. The maddeningness is not even the fact that they haven't had consequences. It's the fact that they haven't recognized what they've done and taken responsibility. So there's one, you can't drink, if you drink poison, and expect the other person to die, well, that's going to kill you. And in a way that's your anger, the anger and rage, which I understand I do have. That actually takes a physical effect on the body. That's why you have to forgive for yourself, not for anyone else. You have to forgive for yourself so you don't carry that with you. However, the maddeningness of also the fact of people supporting the wrong things without knowing the real story is just a heartbreak. But that's exactly what injustice is. So if you were to lose your abilities to have what you have, to give even what you give, because it's easy to love people, really. It's with status, with money, with things. it is. And if you're in the position where you're in the power position, you're giving those things away. If you didn't have the abilities to give those things away, would those people be around? Would they see you the same way? When we're in the position of helper, we look like hero. Okay? Are you? If you didn't have those things, would those people be around? What's the difference of the soul? So the first thing, you have to really forgive yourself and look inward. So that's in this journey, that's the self-reflection part. So even when I'm not well, right? So it can go for periods. So if I have a day yesterday where I'm doing a little bit more, I do generally crash and I can't do much the next day. And then if I upset like at all, or I can only, and that's the truth. So that's also, so being diagnosed before, like in my lifetime with this bipolar thing, I can really clearly see the periods of my life where I'd go for periods of time. So, even like 5-6 years, okay, where I'm on a high every day doing, well, that's, you'd have to look at what's the help, what's the support, what are you doing, what's the energy that comes at you, okay? Well, when that circumstance change, what's the crash? And that's been the pattern. And then, so being diagnosed with this fibromyalgia, the extreme pain, well, what are you turning to? And for myself, I'm really working on, so I was when I was diagnosed with it, and I originally didn't use it. I was so marijuana. I've never touched an illegal substance in my life. However, before was using marijuana, and only in later years, like as an adult, I never used it as like under 25, maybe once or twice, like handful of times. Like I really didn't. I've never had an issue with alcohol. I don't use prescription drugs. I've never had an issue with being addicted to painkillers. I'm not on any medication. I was on medication from the time I was 15 to 37, and they put that on me originally because of my issues after the extreme traumas I faced, and that didn't make me any less depressed. It just took away my memory. However, I'm not saying I'm against meds. It just, in my circumstances, getting my memory back and all those traumas, that's what kind of came back. It was like detoxing all those medications. I don't turn to anything. And even so it's day now 23 without the use of, because for the severe pain, I was using the marijuana. And then you become addicted. And I liked the added here, I like to smoke it. Okay, well, getting over that, because I need the mental clarity. So I'm in more pain now. But instead of going to that, I'm thinking of food, because food addiction was always my thing. But I'm trying to, no, I just am resting, but I'm in severe pain. Okay, well, where are my thoughts going? That's the meditative part. That's the hard part, because that's when the trauma comes back. That's the upset. How the body reacts, though, right? That will depend on where the brain is at. So at one time, so if we go back to 2020, I had no control over my brain and my body in a way. It was too heightened. And that, because it sent my brain back to severe traumas, because trauma comes back in a reaction, not a memory. So in a way, it's like slowing down the brain. So it's an education piece on both sides, to both of you. Like if you've experienced trauma, or if you haven't experienced trauma, you've only studied people that have, that's where the mind is. The issues, again, if you didn't have the base of those things, how that changes, and that takes our brains to different places in time. So I had to understand my reptilian brain, and it comes from fear. But we have to also understand, how do we get out of this? Like, what are the steps we can do to reheal and rebuild? Well, that's a lot attached to ego. And I recognize where my ego attachment is as well, because that's my pride. I don't want people to see me unwell. I don't want people around me when I'm not well, but also that's not because I'm just difficult. It's because the help did a lot of damage, because they want their version of love, and what they thought was best for me actually made things worse. And I wasn't able to see that or understand that without the mental clarity. So that goes back to when I self-analyzed in this depression for the last solid 5 years, these videos I do, rewatching, re-understanding, piecing it together, and then I'm like stepping back and actually analyzing is what helped me with that view. So that part's a blessing. It's just this crash. So I'm in a crash right now. I am in fear and worry, because my physical and mental abilities. And that could be fixed. I do genuinely believe, if there was some sort of justice. So that's where I say, Yeah, my videos are a cry for help, but you cannot help me in a traditional way anymore. So the calls to coast, or like I'm in Canada, they did a lot of damage. If the people in the positions of power did a lot of damage. My fear of help is very real because they did a lot of damage. That's the call for help, is to get to the bottom of the story. And if you're watching again and you're just a person who is not okay, then our souls are connected and we can heal together, and just rest and take it easy, and don't try to be somebody you're not. Find who you really are. And if you set boundaries and people have an issue with you setting those boundaries, those are people you do not want around you. And it might, and like in my circumstances too, it had to get, the harder choice was setting those boundaries and understanding that. And you have that right. You have the right to your body. You have the right to have a voice. You have those rights. But if people are silencing you and taking away those rights, that's the sign that you really do need to do whatever it takes to get away from. That's the message. So what my purpose comes to is, what would I give my life for? That's your life. That's for myself, educating the educated. My life's purpose on that. I will. I'd like to turn it around to have a life, because the version of what people see of me, that's a character. I had to learn that I play and have played very, very well, but struggling to play anymore. If that resonates with you at all, continue to watch. I invite you to. And if somebody hasn't told you today, you're amazing. You are. And if you're struggling, you're not alone. I don't think in spirit I'm alone, because I can't be the only one who feels this way. So ironically, that makes us connected.
Marissa's thing, because I got, like, the name came to me as the idea of the rapid transformational therapy system, but where, like, I'm not a hypnotherapist, she's doing something totally different, her theories are totally different. Where I got that from, why I said okay, that's a good idea, is because, like, at the time too I was building this, and she's like, that's her inspiration and hearing her voice and all of that stuff. It's not meant, if anything, I would say to people, go, like, for her stuff, her way is totally different, right? Like, it's a totally different thing. So at what point does a person say enough? Everybody stop abusing me.
Having my driver's license wrongly taken away by an assessment from a doctor who didn't properly assess me, didn't look at my real situation, and only read notes from other doctors in the past who, again, did not look at my situation, because it's PTSD, not what they say, has made me feel extremely trapped, isolated, lonely, and I feel like I'm in an unnecessary prison of punishment, which is unfair. I don't get that. And then my doctor says that having a license is a privilege, not a freedom. But the government can just take it away, or people can just take it away because they filled out a form, which in fact causes my depression. So this doctor is responsible for the depression I'm feeling right now.
You don't know by now that I have been the most loving, trusting wife in the whole world. I have never once, not one time did I do anything against you. Nothing.
This is when I normally don't do videos, and I don't share things about my life and what's actually happening, because I post one thing and the reality sometimes is very different. I'm in the hospital right now, not for myself. This is my mom wanting to take her life, not doing well, addiction, many things. It's been tough, obviously. It's happened before.
Why is it okay for everyone else to hurt me this way, and I have to keep all of their secrets? And nobody's helping me.
If someone intimidates your mental state, especially for so long, where you can't work, you can't function, you can't do things, that's abuse. And this has been going on for 12 years now. 12, like, it's been going on longer than that, but 12 years. Having my license removed, and now it's August since the beginning of, I'm not sure when it was, February, March, something around that time. I feel extremely isolated, violated. It's added so much to my depression because it's taken away a freedom that was so unnecessary when I've never even driven intoxicated. None of my condition had anything to do with the driver's license, but doctors just take it away because what if? Well, what if? That makes no sense. So it's just another power play, and I feel trapped. It is April 28th, 2023. I had got a letter from... I haven't been able to stop crying. I can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do. So one of the things that, like, I've been in, it's those who don't speak up, who don't do anything, who don't make a change, who don't respect other people, who live in ignorance and think that this world is all theirs. It wasn't until I got my memory back and the psychology, and then I saw my be crying and upset. So when other people are around, I think that's where it's like I have to, that's where the act comes from. So I'm having to put on an act for everybody else, which is exhausting. It's why I went to the hospital in the first place, was to get a release so I could finally freak out, be upset, be depressed, be angry, and then that wasn't allowed. Almost every day, but I fight almost every day. An example. Random shit. So keeping myself busy, as I've been, like, in the last, I was a person my entire life, always been extremely social, always doing, I was a spokesperson, a spokesmodel, letting people close to me, no, I didn't realize, but that was a protective mechanism. Proving PTSD, but that's a side thing that I'm doing for myself. I didn't realize, like, I've been mentally ill. I am mentally ill. I think the worst part about what I see is the fact that I'm really suffering. I'm just really good at also performing. That's the outer body thing. That's never been my career. Really. Being on camera, going in front of things, yeah, I've done that for years. But I've literally been suffering for 2 years now, begging for help. Before that, I was also obviously avoiding my pain, right? I masked that, I pushed it down. I was always helping other people, but I clearly was in denial. I'm, like, desperate for help. I'm not okay. Today is November 19th, 2020. I just found out that I got my, driver's license reinstated, and I know it seems like it should be something I'd jump on and be excited about, but it should have never been taken away in the first place. And it's not even just not having the license that was the issue for me. It's being treated like less than a person. Today is May 6th, 2021. My birthday's in a couple days. How I feel, to be honest, right now is rage, anger, internal conflict and confusion. Because, it's a reminder of how unjust all of this has been. So So realistically, what's a person supposed to do? So I go to the I've only ever been abused in my life. I only ever protected my child. I did the responsible thing throughout my whole life and always went to go get help. Was further punished by doctors. I went to the hospital 3 different times last year because of trauma and everybody else's abuse. The biggest problem with this, once you're labeled any type of mental illness or you're pushed into the system, the people that seem to be running the system are the people who don't understand. They don't get it. So a movie like the Joker movie, I completely get it. I come from the other side. The girl who was severely abused for so long, was blessed enough to have the opportunity to educate herself and find support. However, the loneliness and that feeling remains the same, because the reality is you can be pushed so far and it doesn't matter what you have. If you don't have love, you don't have anything. See, the thing is with, let's say, counseling, addictions, different things. Traditionally, you go to like those AA meetings or you go to a therapist, and it's really, let's be honest, boring, right? And let's be another honest, the people that usually have those problems have a hard time paying attention, and usually, let's quite frankly, to have some sort of the things that are distracting them, probably sexual, right? So it's really hard to talk, and trauma generally is something we don't want to talk about, and it's uncomfortable and everything else, especially after being abused. So I did something completely unconventional. I was sexually abused, and I realized I had a lot of issues surrounding that. So the only way to really work through that and push through that was to offend myself, because quite frankly, I was offended. So I'm like, I'll have to figure out a way to make this more interesting, get people to pay attention and try something completely different that is so uncomfortable, but also that would be relatable to people where they'd actually want to listen. So is it like, I've also had to realize in this process I needed to be alone, because I'm so angry at everybody. It's hard to see if they do have good intentions. So until I learn myself and can manage that, because I can't understand why people would just want to be there like anywhere, even though I can do it to others, for like, it's a self-worth thing. It's a strange thing, but that's when you're used to being like, that was my deflection, right? And I didn't realize that. So when I would do my mental health matters challenge and make it myself. 5 days. It started yesterday. Yesterday was complete just chaos. Like, I just feel my thoughts are scattered. I need fucking help. And I feel like I need fucking help. And I went to go get help and I got further abused. So I trust no one.